Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to Frankie Sense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say?
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin now.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
Hey people, hello Facebook people. How many women does it take to get on a Facebook Live? Only 3 of us. That wasn't so hard, was it? Well, you know who I am. We are, you're listening to Frankie Sense and More, apparently. And today I have 2 wonderful guests with me. The brunette, the lovely brunette, is Linden, who is a musician, actor, passionate fitness instructor, and she's been teaching fitness for over 2 decades. She's taught strength, step, Pilates, Vinyasa yoga, senior fitness, and she's worked with clients and students of all ages and fitness levels. She's certified by the AFAA Group Exercise and the NASM, if you know what that is, CPT, as well as 200 yoga. She has a BFA in dance from the University of the Arts. And, you know, Kama understands that we're all busy, and she knows that people who join gyms only go for a limited time, guilty. So instead of letting us off the hook, she has come up with a plan for the die-hard couch potato. For those of us who don't want to do anything at the end of the day because, well, we're tired and lazy, we especially don't want to work out. But she has done something. She wrote a book, and it's launching this week, and it's called Healthy Things That You Can Do in Front of the TV. And we're going to talk to her about that in just a moment. Also with me, the lovely, brune blonde. I don't know what we call your hair color, Cindy.
Yeah, blonde is fine.
Blonde is fine. Cindy is the founder and the CEO of Interconnection. She's self-published author, speaker, coach, and she specializes in yoga, qigong, and food healing. Her signature program is Reversing Osteoporosis Naturally. And despite being healthy, exercising, and watching what she ate, Cindy was shocked to have been diagnosed with osteopenia, and she was determined to find a way to reverse it. And she did. And today her intention is to support anyone who's on a journey to improve their own health and well-being. And she teaches and coaches people of all ages, both in her private studio as well as virtually to people around the globe. And I was recently honored to be in her Ageless Beauty Summit as a speaker. It was a fabulous online summit for women. And, you know, it just proved that, you know, regardless of age, we are still beautiful inside and out. So welcome to you both ladies. So lovely to have you join us. To yoga, exercise, eating right. Are you still a vegan, Cindy? Or I mean, Hema? Diehard vegan?
I eat fish and I eat like vegetable products. I don't do dairy at all. And I don't do walking animals, no meat, no chicken, anything like that. I found for me the dairy was the biggest culprit. Both for my breathing, my sinuses. I used to get sinus infections like constantly. And between the meat and the dairy, part of it's in my book as well. But when I went to Singapore, I was working for Sesame Street, and I weighed a lot more at that point. I was a little more curvy, and I was always getting sick. So there were these books. There were these cute little books. They're just free pamphlets. When you go to Sentosa Island, it said, milk is not fit for humans. I'm like, okay, I picked one up. And then there was another one that taught you about not eating meat. And the part about the milk, I was like, no brainer. My gosh, there's antibiotics. There's things in there that we as human beings can't digest it. If you imagine a cow should feed its own calf with the calf's milk, and a human being mother would feed breast milk. And the closest things that would emulate breast milk would be soy milk, almond milk, things like that, which are easier for us as humans to digest. Plus it has protein that they say milk is protein, but not really. And more importantly, you're ingesting antibiotics.
Right.
As well. Now this is gonna be crazy, but she mentions this in the book. I used to get upset over things that, you know, I was always stressed out. And then on top of that, I was always getting sick. And on top of that, I was beginning to get a pre-ulcerous condition. This is all in my 20s here. Once I gave up the meat, it's like I went through this metamorphosis. And you could, like, you know, wake me up or something, drop a bomb, and I'll be like, what? I mean, it like definitely, I was calm about things that normally would have stressed me out or gotten me angry in my meat eating life. And not only that, but once I gave up the dairy, I lost 10 pounds without even thinking. Didn't even blow my mind. I was like, oh my gosh. And it like just stayed off. It was like great. My skin cleared up. And here I am at my age looking better than I did in my 20s, which is crazy. So
It's interesting, that people do drink milk because every animal and humans alike, we wean our children. Why would you go back and have something that is meant for growth for children, for babies? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I would just like to interject too that there's this myth out there that, we have to drink milk and dairy products for the calcium for our bones. And that's it's a myth. I mean, if you're not sensitive to dairy products, that is one way to get calcium. But to Kama's point, the almond milk, coconut milk, those types of milk substitutes, many times they actually have more calcium than the dairy cow's milk.
Yeah, and what's even funnier, spinach in particular, as well as kale, which I eat a lot of, have more calcium than you're ever going to get from milk. And you don't get sick. You don't have, the cow pus building up in your system or the antibiotics and the fat.
Nice.
So fuel. Think of it as like if you have a car, you don't want to put diesel in your car engine. We've all heard what happened in New Jersey. People accidentally put the wrong gas in their car. It was filled wrong, and the engine seized about a mile after the station. So can you imagine that's us, right? So you want to have super unleaded 93 in your system. You don't want to have diesel to weigh you down.
And Cindy, you also changed your diet to reverse your condition. And so what kind of a diet do you eat? I know that we're going to go into more about, specifically for osteoporosis and that, but was there something that you immediately took out of your diet?
Not immediately. In fact, what I did is I went to a couple different holistic doctors and got their opinion. And then I found a course that I took and got certified in, which was the food healing. And long story short, my diet now is very pH balanced, is what I call it, which in a nutshell, what that means is it is very plant-based. Anything that's plant-based is more alkaline in nature, whereas your animal products are more acidic. And the acidity that is in not only foods but also beverages, what that can do is your body has to maintain a pH level around 7.2, 7.3. And so if you're eating a lot of acidic foods and drinking a lot of beverages that are acidic, then what happens is your body has to find a way to balance that back up to 7.2, 7.3. One of the minerals in our body that is very alkaline is calcium. So a lot of times what will happen with a very acidic diet is that the calcium is actually being leached out of your system, including your bones.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because people think of acidic as a lemon, but a lemon is actually alkaline in your body. Right. So
yes.
you have to kind of research what it is. You can't just go, oh, I know that's an acidic food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting. But Cam, I was curious about the soy because I thought soy had a lot of estrogen in it and it wasn't good for us anymore. I mean, they go back and forth, right?
I guess different people digest things differently.
Yeah.
There was a theory that depending on your blood type, you can eat certain foods and not eat certain foods. Everything's balanced. I mean, you don't want to have a soy-based diet and have that be your only diet, but you do need some cool protein as well as some warm protein like bean-based. So let's just say I gave up fish altogether, but for me, fish.
Fish works.
My body, it works.
Yeah.
But let's say I gave it up altogether. I would have to make sure that I had nut-based, I would have to have tofu-based, and I would have to have bean-based. I would have to make sure that I had something that's warm, medium, and cool to catch all my proteins.
That sounds like a Vedic kind of theory, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Can't do the soy.
I just know a little bit enough to be dangerous.
I can handle it just fine, but I don't eat only soy. So, I mean, if I eat 100% soy, maybe I'd have issues, but,
Gotcha.
Not going to kill me.
Yeah. And have you gone through menopause? Are you near menopause? I don't even know your age.
You know,
So
it's funny. I thought at first I was, but it was just amenorrhea from working out too much, and nope. So I'm back at it.
good for you. Good for you. And Cindy, what about you? Where are you on that scale?
I had a forced menopause.
You had a hysterectomy?
Yeah, I had to have a hysterectomy. Fairly young age, and so because of that, you know, for 6 months they didn't want me on any type of HRT or anything like that. So at a young age, I went through menopause.
Wow. You know, I actually went through it for like 15 years. It was terrible.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but actually I took HRT for about, I would say 2 years or so, and then I weaned myself off of it with, you know, some help with a holistic doctor as well. But since then, and that was, man, almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
So, and I don't take anything now, and I'm fine.
Good for you. Yeah. So you're both obviously very thin. Is it your diet, like because you eat a plant-based diet more so than anything?
That was a major contributor for me, but then also I've changed my workouts. And it's funny because as a dancer for so many years, and then, you know.
Yeah, you work out like a maniac.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Tell us what your schedule is. I mean, it's crazy. You'd have to have 48 hours in a day to work out like you. What is it?
Well, I mean, like I literally before this, I did go for an hour plus run because I knew it was going to get really hot soon. So if I didn't catch it while there was still a breeze, it was over. So I did just run in the park just now, give or take an hour. You know, some days if I have a little more time, if I'm like in a new city and I just want to see the city, or if I'm at the beach because it's so great, I will run like an hour 10, hour 15. I was in Florida, I ran an hour 22, and I was like, oh my gosh, that just went by. And swimming, I'm a bit of a freak. When it comes to the pool, and part of it is I think because I'm a fire sign, it cools me off and calms me down. I will swim for an hour 40 and sometimes an hour 50, which is like 100 to 110 laps because I can. But also, I just like the water. The water's fun for me. Like,
So you'll run and then you'll swim, and then like you'll just work out in front of your TV.
Yeah, the weightlifting is done right here in front of the TV while I got CNBC on, or sometimes I am catching up on like a Criminal Minds episode I forgot about, and I just want to watch it. But I will take the bench out, put it on the floor, and I'll start off with the row and the chest press. I'll do a few abs, walk around a little bit, answer some emails, go back to the second set, answer the emails. Then I'll start the next set, which will be the rear flies, the chest fly, and then say leg lowers. Then, you know, take a break, answer some emails, go back to the second set. After that, biceps, sometimes like some kind of leg work up, like a step up or lunges, because what's wonderful about swimming and running on alternate days is one thing takes muscle off, one thing puts muscle back on.
Right.
With osteoporosis, you got to keep the muscle on. And when I used to run 6 days a week, when I first learned to run, you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, blah. But that would have taken all my muscle off. So some of your elite runners, they're not just thin, they don't have muscle left, which is why they get injured. The marathoners, once they stop doing marathons, they gain a bunch of weight, they become more injured. They're like, oh, my knee, my this, my that. But then you'll never run again. Like, I like to run, so that's why I don't do a marathon personally, because I do it because I like it.
Right.
I don't want to get to the point where I'm like, oh gosh, I got to run the marathon.
So is all of this exercise, is it because you get those endorphins and you feel amazing, or you have a little OCD, or what is it?
Probably the OCD in there somewhere, but honestly, I tell you, it relieves my stress like you don't know. I mean, I'm an actor. I'm also doing real estate. You find out the deal died, the seller's not taking the property. You ran around with them, and now they're behind your back with another agent, and they're being jerky to you, and you're just like, you want to punch a wall, but going for a run would probably be a better idea.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cindy, what's your routine like? You're at the beach.
It's very different from I'm not quite as energetic as that. Every morning when I get up, I have something that I do. And it's either taking a walk, which is usually the first thing that I do. It's not always 2 hours or anything like that. I will say that if there was only one exercise in the world, running, I would not do it. I do not like running at all, and it does not work for my body. And to Kama's point, only suggestion that I would give anyone else out there is find something that you like to do.
Yeah.
Because that way it's not this, oh, I have to exercise. You know, so for me in the morning, I usually take a walk. Now that can be anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes. It depends on what else I got going on that day. But then the other thing is I have a series of 7 different exercise routines, but each of them only takes about 10 minutes to do. So if I have time in the morning to get my 10-minute little workout in, I will. Otherwise, later on in the day, and sometimes during the day, I just feel like, you know what, I need a 10-15-minute break. So I'll do one of these exercises. One is called the Tibetan Rites. I don't know if, Kama, you might have heard of this. And it was actually part of my summit. I gave everybody that exercise to do. But it's about a 10-minute exercise. It's strength, it's flexibility. Doesn't really do that much for balance, but it's very good for strength and flexibility. And if you want more information, if you just Google Tibetan Rites, you'll find all kinds of information on it. It's supposed to really help with longevity. In fact, the way that it was discovered here in the West was, I think it was around 1939, I want to say. Someone was out visiting different places around the world and came across this temple with monks and lamas in it that were like in their hundreds, and he couldn't figure out, well, what is keeping them so young? And one of the things they were doing was this exercise routine.
Wow.
So that's one. I've got some other ones as well. I have a routine that's like a high intensity interval training, sometimes called HIIT, that I do. But again, it's only like 10-15 minutes. That's it.
But you both teach. Do you teach throughout the day, every day, or a couple days?
Yes, I'm basically a professional yoga and Tai Chi Qigong instructor. That's what I do for a living. So I have classes pretty much every day that I teach, and then I've got a lot of private students. So I'm doing that as well.
I just want to say that I was like you. I did not like to run. And then because I wanted to be on the national dragon boat team, I had to run 5K. I had to learn. So I joined the running room and I fell in love with running. Like they taught me how to run. And I'm a girl with big boobs and big girl breasted. We don't like to run, you know? But then like I don't run now because I had my motorcycle accident and I can't run. But I loved it. And and yesterday it was funny because I just said to my daughter yesterday, join the running room. You will learn to run and like it. So little tip.
Breathing. Which eventually
it is the breathing. It's the breathing and the bouncing, which you can control the bouncing, but the breathing was the hardest, but they just teach you so gently. And I think in 8 weeks, I ran my first 5K. I never thought it would be possible. So, yay.
I learned from an actor friend when I was out in Carbondale, Illinois. I was working on Man of La Mancha and what was the other show we did? Joseph, right. Okay. So I was dance captain as well as one of the actors, but it was one of the younger actors who's like, you know, slow your breathing down, inhale, and like take longer breaths. So I could have like 4 or 5 steps before I actually exhaled. And it not only helped my running, but it helped my singing. So
yeah, I could see that.
I was like, I got my guitar and people were like, you are so energetic. Like I cannot sit and play my guitar. I have to be like jumping around. And one time I was like performing and I was on a carpet that had a lot of dust. So I'm like bouncing, and then suddenly I start choking a few songs later, and I wonder why. And I'm like, oh, you idiot, you're on a carpet that is dust. Stop jumping.
That's hilarious. That is so funny. Oh my gosh. I love that. So Cindy, how were you diagnosed with osteo? Like what happened? Did you just
so
go for?
There's osteopenia and there's osteoporosis, and osteopenia is basically a precursor. So it's kind of like the yellow flag that goes up that says, hey, if you don't do something, you know, your bones are going to continue to get thinner and thinner. And the way that it's usually diagnosed, in fact, the only way I know for certain that you can get diagnosed is there's a type of scan. It's sort of like an X-ray. It's called a DEXA scan. It doesn't hurt or anything, but you get the scan done, and what it does is it scans the actual density of your bones and measures that.
So was it because you're a certain age that your doctor said, oh, you should have this done, or?
In the United States, for the most part, most doctors, whether it's like a gynecologist, a woman's health doctor, or else your primary doctor, usually when you turn 50, they will recommend you get a DEXA scan. It's just part of your physical at, once a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if you are younger than 50 and if you've broken a bone or something like that, and it seems to be a little out of the ordinary, then sometimes they will have you do a DEXA scan before the age of 50.
Got it.
And it's usually a woman's type health issue. So because of that, a lot of times they don't recommend it for men. And the symptoms really, or those that are, I should say, more susceptible to it, are women that are slight framed, usually around, I guess I wouldn't say, I was going to say shorter women, but you could be tall, but if you're really thin, that's usually a person that's going to be more susceptible to it. And so you have your DEXA scan done, and then after that, you get your test results. And the test results are compared to a 30-year-old's bone density. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind with that. But your doctor should go over your test scores. But I've been helping women now since 2010, so about 8 years. And one thing that I've noticed, and it happened to me as well, is when I got my test scores, I went back to my doctor. She didn't give me my test scores, which you should always get them.
Yeah.
You paid for them, so you should get them. And the other thing she didn't do is she just said, you have osteopenia. Here's a script for, a pharmaceutical drug that I was supposed to start taking. And then she wanted me to take a calcium supplement. And, I had been doing yoga. I had been working out. I thought I was eating right. So first of all, I was like, this is BS.
Hey, how can this happen to me? Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt really defeated because here I thought I was doing everything that I could to keep myself healthy. And yet I got this diagnosis, and I'm one of these that I'm always asking why, why this and why that. And so when I asked her, she did not have a good answer for me. In fact, she said, "You're a skinny white girl," was her answer.
Okay.
Yeah. And at first I kind of laughed it off, but I mean, she's like serious.
But why is there a reason for the slight of frame or the skinny person to get it?
Usually, if you think about it, an overweight person is carrying more weight.
So they're using that weight
so they're doing more weight bearing just because they're more overweight.
Gotcha.
But I did start taking the pharmaceuticals for a while. I took, I think, 3 months worth, and I just had so many side effects. And that's when I started doing more research and finding out all of the not so good things about the pharmaceuticals. And so I had always been healthy. I'd always been into health and wellness. And so I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I started searching for some holistic doctors and doing a lot of online reading and Googling and that sort of thing as well. And the short story is that I found a program that I could really stick to, and it not only includes the exercise, but also the nutrition. And then when I went through the food healing program, there's actually a protocol that I was taught for.
So is there something specific that you added to your diet that you never had before, or in greater quantities, or?
I think that I definitely went to a more pH balanced diet.
Okay.
One of the things that I gave up right away, I loved coffee, and coffee is very acidic. And so that was one of the things that I gave up. But, as far as diet, I would say, maybe a little bit more plant-based. I'm not vegan, but I also do not do any dairy product, mainly because I have the same issues as Kama. It was a lot of sinus, a lot of mucus, a lot of stuff like that going on. And so I had actually stopped eating that a few years prior to that as well. But there's specific supplements that are needed. And then also one of the other things that people don't realize is stress. Stress really plays such an important role in getting that under control, not just for osteopenia and osteoporosis, but for so many different illnesses.
So you actually reversed yours.
Yes.
Your
And
bone density is now of a 30-year-old?
it's in the normal range, which so the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah. And Cam, does that bother you? Because you're very slight of frame. Do you worry that maybe you could have this?
I don't. I should, but I don't. I'm not as slight of frame as you think. I am petite. I am 102 pounds, but if you actually look at my bone structure, I am pretty thick. When I tell people I have a 27 waist, they go, "How is this possible?" I said, "Because I'm built like a boy." But the thing is, if you look at my femurs, if you look at my shins, I am not small boned at all. I actually am very dense boned. I feel like I should have been 5'6", but I wasn't. I mean, I was 13. I thought it was cute to smoke cigarettes, but anyway, I don't now, of course. But I do have very dense bones compared to, like, I see girls who are thin. I am not, like, my bones are not that small. They're not. My mother, however, was a blonde, and they said the blondes, for whatever reason, are more susceptible, not even just the white thing, but also the blonde thing. And I'm sort of mixed heritage, so I have the Spanish side as well. So I'm not, I guess I'm Caucasian, but I'm not as, like, that blonde body type and whatever it is that goes with it. So I think I have that going for me. But if you ever see what I lift in a day, I mean, if you ever see me with my 50-pound suitcase and then this bag and that bag up and down stairs all day long, not to mention the weights I'm lifting, like, there's literally not a day that goes by that I'm not lifting something big and stupid. So, including lifting other people. Like, I don't know if you assist your students with back bends, but you have to lift them up, or you're on a set and they're like, "Okay, everybody, are you okay doing this? Well, we're going to lift the gurney together. Okay, I'm playing a EMT today," or whatever. So I do lift things all day long and run up and stairs with those items. So I am doing things that are building strength that maybe your average person may or may not do. So, and I had this major argument with someone when I first gave up the dairy. He's like, "Well, one day when you have kids, you're going to have to drink milk." I'm like, "No, you don't." I'm like, I could just eat spinach, which has better calcium, and kale and other things that actually give you better calcium, because drinking all this milk obviously may or may not be giving me the calcium I want, but it's also making me sick all the time. So this can't be the answer.
I've broken so many bones. My God, since I was 5 years old, I've broken my femur 3 times, my hip, my pelvis, well, that was a motorcycle, but like just my ankle, like a couple times. And I've broken
Have you
so
had
many.
a DEXA scan?
Never. But it's all my whole life I've been breaking my bones.
Yeah, you should really have one, because you might be surprised. You might be in at least the osteopenia. And it's interesting because some of my clients will have like a -4, which is pretty serious. And they're like little China dolls, and yet they fall and they don't break anything. And then there would be somebody else, it's like a -2.5, which is just on the cusp of being between osteopenia and osteoporosis, just to give you an idea of the scores. And they're at like -2.5, and they've broken bones. So sometimes the DEXA scan, even though it will give you a measurement, it sometimes is not as accurate as it could possibly be, or maybe,
I know my mom had it, and I know that I remember one Mother's Day so clearly. She walked in, she tripped, and she fell into my wall. And she actually, and I know from your book that, she had fractures in her spine, hairline fractures, that they never caught right away. And then she was having some trouble, and I took her to Emerge, and they go, "Oh, you got a fracture of your spine. Oh, and I go, "Oh my God," when she went into the wall, that's when that happened.
Yeah.
Without even knowing.
There are some people that genetically it can be more of an issue. So because your mom seems to have had issues.
But she
with,
she was tall but slight of frame. Like
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm like big bone. Kind of.
Yeah, but you still, I would suggest getting one just to see, you know.
I will do that.
Anytime you go to the doctor, just get a script and have it.
I just had a bone scan, but it's not the same thing. I don't think.
No. Mm-mm.
No. So interesting. I want to know, are either of you, were you ever sugar freaks, sugar addicts? Do you crave sugar?
I still like my sweets. If I could only have one type, you know, like I'm not the pizza, lasagna, that sort of thing. No, but give me chocolate chip cookies. I love my sweets. I really do.
Me too. It's the hardest thing to give up. I've been eating keto for a while, but thank God for Swerve. That's all I can say.
Yeah, one of the things that I've discovered in the last couple of years is when I am really craving something sweet, believe it or not, and it just happened as a freak accident, but I ate a half of an avocado, of all things, just, you know, plain avocado, just ate a half of it. And I found that if I'm craving something sweet, avocado for some reason, or something that's more
fat.
Seems to satisfy it. And I don't know if that's
because taste-wise it wouldn't. Like I just go, ah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I know. It's not sweet at all. So, you know, for me, and what I tell clients too, if they want to get off sugar, you know, there are some things that you can kind of lean into, right? For me and a lot of my clients, I'm like, no, don't lean into it, because you can't wean yourself off of it any way I can.
No, and I think that you go around and you try not to eat, and you eat a whole bunch of other stuff that if you just had a bite of that damn cookie, you'd be okay, right? It'd be gone.
Yeah.
That craving would be gone. What about you?
The other thing that I would just say with it is just rip off the Band-Aid. Go cold turkey. And usually the first 3 days, like if you don't eat any type of sugar, corn syrup, nothing like that, the first 3 to 5 days, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hard. It's difficult. It's really, really difficult to do. But if you can get past that, usually you're not as obsessed with it.
Yeah, that's true. I've been staying around 20-25 grams of carbs, and I'm okay. I mean, I can get through the day, but I kind of, you know, I look forward to the berries. I look forward to having some raspberries or something at the end of the day. So
and I would say too, you know, sugar and sugary items, you know, like white sugar, brown sugar, honey, you know, those types of sugar is very, very different than, say, because that's a simple carbohydrate.
Right.
Simple, and then there's complex.
Right.
You can eat all the vegetables you want. Those are carbohydrates, but they don't have the sugar content.
Right.
That say, like if you had a chocolate chip cookie.
Right. Do you crave your kale, Kama? Do you crave it? I mean, like you go, oh,
I do.
Can't get my kale. Can't wait for it.
When I go to eat lunch eventually, I have this insane little thing I do, because I'll make my tuna fish with my soy mayonnaise and I throw the dill in there. I have this thing for dill and herbs of all kinds, but I take wheat bread, I take some almond cheese, slice it real thin, and I take like a whole thing of kale. I throw it in the pan with like a smidge of water, cover it, steam it for a couple minutes, and then the almond cheese melts, the kale becomes just steamed, the perfect color and texture. So I have like this kale, almond cheese, grilled cheese kind of thing going on. Wow. And then the tuna with it, and it just works for me. Kind of crazy, but it works. And then at night when I make the salmon, I throw all the veggies in there with like the curry and the dill, and I will put the fourth ingredient will be the kale. And it just looks pretty. It looks top of, and if you put kale, here's another thing. If you take kale and you steam it with little edamames from the Trader Joe's, and they're sweet potato fries, and they're not oil if you don't put oil on them. So you just put the whole thing together, you steam it with a little cover, some water. It's very nice. It just works together.
I wish I craved, I mean, I do crave vegetables sometimes, but I wish, you know, like my husband loves salad. He'll eat salad. Oh, I just want a salad. I just want a salad. I'm like, oh my God, like that is not satisfying to me. Like, I don't want a salad. I want something that's going to like, But you know, with the sugar, like you look at, I don't eat canned stuff. So like tomato soups and all that kind of stuff. I love tomato soup, but you know what? It's corn syrup. They're like that's so insidious. It's in everything, just everything. And it has so many names that it tries to trick and fool you, but you have to be really clever with it. But you know, I gave up everything because I really wanted to see, because my immune system is compromised, and I gave up sugar and dairy, and I was vegan for a while and all this stuff. And honest to God, I never found any difference, not one iota of difference. And I'm like, for me, like it doesn't seem to make a difference, and I don't know why. And I had the strips to see if I was, acidic or not. And I kept trying to become more alkaline because I know that cancer is not supposed to live in an alkaline environment. And I don't know, maybe we're just all so different. And what works for one, like you said, with the Vedic stuff, doesn't work for the other. It's hard to know.
Might be your blood type. Maybe there's even something you're allergic to that you still don't even know what it is.
Maybe.
Your trigger. Like I knew for me that meat and dairy were my kryptonite. That was
yeah.
my kryptonite. Like, all right, done, found it, figured it out. That and the particular green tree that's out right now for the next month, it makes me very
it makes you have allergies. Yeah.
Only this one tree. Once I go away from it, like I'll cough like an old.
You're in New York, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Cindy's in Florida, and I'm in Toronto, and stuff
all
is
on the east side.
Yeah, we went from I don't know, Cam, if you had it last week, but we had snow and ice storm, and then today it's like in the 80s. It's crazy.
It's finally almost 90. I'm like, yes. Thank you. I mean, I was like yelling at my management company Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I have every blanket I own on top of me with a winter coat on top of that. I'm like, it's going to be May tomorrow.
Yeah. It was so cold.
I'm shivering. I can't sleep. I'm so cold.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I just, Frankie, for you, one of the things too that happened to me about 3 years ago, all my life I had digestive issues, and they were kind of mild for quite a while, but probably about 5 years ago, they started getting worse and worse and worse. And until like 3 years ago, it was really bad. And I went to some different holistic doctors and finally found one that did a food sensitivity test, which was extremely enlightening. Because they tested 180 different foods, and these are,
Did you go a naturopath for that, or?
This was an acupuncturist that I saw.
Okay.
That did the test, and it's basically a simple blood test, and you send it into a lab, and they compare it to, my test was 180 different antigens. For each of the different foods. And, it had all the fruits, all the vegetables, a lot of herbs. It had all the meats, it had dairy, nuts and seeds. So, all these whole foods. And, again, I thought I was eating healthy, but digestive wise, I really was having major issues. Anyway, when the test results came back, there were 53 foods that I was sensitive to, and they were things that I was eating all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so the good news was I found out what the problem was. The bad news was I had eliminated them from my diet.
Yeah. What was the hardest one? What was the hardest one for you to get rid of?
There were a couple, but onions was on the list.
Oh, I couldn't go without onions. Oh.
Well, and the thing is, especially if you go out to eat, a lot of sauces, soups, a lot of
flavor
dishes have the onion in, and so I'd be really, really super careful. But I went on this elimination diet, and then after so long, then you can start reintroducing the foods, because basically what's happening is you're healing the lining of your stomach and the intestinal tract.
Sure.
And once that's healed, you can usually start reintroducing those foods, and you'll be okay. And about a year and a half ago, I had another test, the same test done, and I was only sensitive to about 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a little difficult depending on what your test results, but it might be too something that, you might.
So what do you ask for? What do you ask for? Just an allergen test or food allergy test?
It's called a food sensitivity
Food
test.
sensitivity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I'll check that out. You know, it's so difficult, and you know, I have to give both of you, you know, big props for just being so strong and doing that for yourself, like really, because it's not easy. It's not easy. Like, I don't care about bread. I could care less if I ever had another sandwich in my life. But you know, I do like dessert. I like ice cream. I like, you know, and I've been making my own, you know, my own ice cream without sugar and stuff. But
Yeah, you know, the other thing is too, is it is really important. We all talk about self-care and not being selfish.
yeah,
And sometimes we talk about it a lot and we don't, we're not
do
really
it.
following that ourselves.
It's difficult.
Sometimes too, things get so bad, right? That it's like you'll do anything. And so my advice is don't wait for it to
Yeah.
get so bad.
Don't let it get bad. You know what? I love popcorn, and we go to the movies almost every weekend. And so when I eat keto, of course, I can't eat popcorn. And the first thing my partner's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have popcorn." I go, "Do you have to eat that in front of me?" Like, so when you have a family and people around you who are eating all this yummy stuff that a chocolate bar, oh yeah, I have to have 10 of those, you know, in front of you. It's difficult. It's like you keep saying to yourself, but this is because it's good for me. It's good for me.
I think the funny thing is some of the things that you're saying are yummy. I'm just like,
yeah.
I've gotten to that point where
Yeah.
like that doesn't sound like food to me.
Right.
So sometimes when I'm on a movie set, which I'm on quite often, and they feed us,
They cater you, yeah.
So breakfast is really like one of the better meals because you can get egg whites, you can get this, you can get that. But usually like lunch or dinner when they feed us, even if they're making say fish, and if I make, you know, salmon at home, I would never in my life put oil or salt on salmon because it comes from a salty ocean and it has oil
Right.
that's natural. You're
Right.
killing it.
Right.
Saturated.
I
So there's
agree. I would never do that.
that like when they prepare food, I would never do that. So even like broccoli rabe, they'll throw salt or things on there that I'm like, literally, I'm wiping off the oil. I'm rinsing off things to make it not.
You don't eat any salt, any Himalayan salt or anything?
Once in a while, I like the Trader Joe's blue chips. Those are cool, but like salt makes me thirsty, so I don't like it.
Oh, okay.
If salt is in like prepared food, I taste it right away and I don't like it. It's not
Okay.
like, it's not a pleasant thing for me.
Like, your body is a very clean vessel, I think.
Like certain things, like I said, that doesn't sound like food to me. That's not even like, oh yay, I should be eating chocolate. No, it's not like something I
And I
crave.
can eat clean and eat chocolate. I mean, like, there's clean
Yeah.
stuff, right? But I mean, with my ice cream, I can make it from avocado. It's delicious, you know, or puddings or whatever.
Little avocado, like the avocado toast thing is a very popular thing, and now they have restaurants and stores that will make avocado shakes and ice cream. I've never had them, but it sounds interesting.
It doesn't taste like, well, because avocado doesn't really have a flavor. It just has a nice full fat kind of feel to it, right? Like, it's creamy. It's delicious.
Yeah.
I've made
Yeah.
cheesecake with it. It's yummy. Yeah. But
Yeah, and Frankie, I would say to you too, you know, when you do crave something like that, sometimes not giving yourself permission to just have, you know, that piece of chocolate cake or whatever
Sure.
it is. Go ahead and have it. But the other thing is, don't feel guilty.
yeah.
Enjoy every single bite.
Like, I know myself, Kama, I could not eat your diet. I've tried it. I don't enjoy it. And like, every time I would just not eat. I would just not eat rather than have to eat that. Like, truly. I've tried the mayonnaise, the vegan mayonnaise. It makes me gag, you know, all this stuff. And so part of my philosophy is, you know, I still have to live and enjoy my life. And
Yep.
so you have to find what works for you.
Well,
Even,
in the food section here, I specifically say that. I'm like, you're
Yeah.
probably not necessarily going to do that, but if you're going to have that little piece of chocolate cake or ice cream, have a small scoop in a bowl.
yes.
Eat that. And if you really feel the need to go have more, then you're going to have to go to the fridge and get it. You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to have that pint sitting.
Like, a
right
half a cup is really more than enough. It really is. And if you measure that, I find that by the end, if you eat it slowly, by the end of it, you don't need any more than that. The craving is gone. There is a line in your book at the very beginning. I'm trying to remember what it was because it was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you said it or somebody else said it, but they talked about was it food being the next what was it, something about being the next cigarette? What was it? It was so
Oh,
smart.
sitting is the next smoking.
That's it. Sitting is the next smoking. Yes.
That line is everywhere. Like
Yes.
2016, which I
Sitting is
mentioned.
the next smoking.
I'd like to say I invented this, but I did not.
Yeah.
It is the slogan for Veridesk. So even though I don't have a Veridesk, I'm using my laundry hanger right now as a Veridesk for my computer. I'll get one eventually. They're wonderful. But like the buzzword, you saw it in articles left and right. It was all over the place.
It's so true, though. So true. It scares the crap out of me because I sit quite a lot. I'm always in front of my computer, and I'm having, just even standing and walking right now, I'm waiting for hip surgery and stuff. So, but at the same time, my hip is so short now, it's very difficult to even just, walk. So I don't know, but I mean, it hit home right away. Sitting is the next smoking. Pardon?
What caused
Oh, motorcycle. I was in a motorcycle accident. Yeah. So I was in a very severe, I got T-boned. So I went through my windshield of my motorcycle, and I broke both femurs, hip, and pelvis. And so just having, the acetabulum was smashed. And so now it's been a few years, but now it's just, it feels like there's a rubber band doing this inside, and it's so tight and so short and so much pain around my pelvis. And I keep thinking it's my pelvis. They're going, no, it's your hip. It's your hip. So I'm hoping to hear from surgeon tomorrow, and hopefully they can take some of that, put a hip replacement in and just take some scar tissue out, and Frankie will be a lot better able to move. I can't even put shoes on myself on my left side. Like, it's crazy. I'm like, keep looking like, oh, there's nobody to help me. I can't get my boot on. It's really gotten bad. So and they kept saying, well, it's elective. I go, how can that be elective surgery? I'm sorry, it's not elective.
I elect to walk better.
I would like to move my body. And I look at people moving their body like you two, and I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Because I did do that. I was, I was on the national dragon boat team. I ran, I did stuff. And thank God, like, we were 8 days from going to Shanghai when I had my accident, and they said to me that they didn't have very many women who could lift them. I was maniac about my triceps. They said, we never have women who with bilateral breaks can lift themselves and transfer themselves into the tub or lift themselves up and move. It was like the universe knew it was going to happen, and they got me prepared for it.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
My calf muscle. I've had a lot of freak accidents also, so my injuries weren't overused. They were always like some freak accident, but each accident always taught me something.
Yeah.
So the calf muscle tear was bizarre. I was teaching a class, and I had a lady who, for no reason whatsoever, would come in early, put all of our steps out. So she put my step too close to the mirror, and I was doing a lunge, and my heel smacked into the mirror, which tore my gastroc soleus and a little part of my Achilles. So in rehab, I had one woman who was very good and one woman who was crazy and actually re-injured me.
Oh no.
But during this process, I started swimming again like I did when I was in summer camp. Now, I can, no matter what, I was able to swim 20 laps, nothing, because that's your quarter mile. And then I made it 30, and then I made it 40, and then I made it 50. And then I found out that 72 was a mile, so I was like, let me try the 72 thing. I was like, okay, that's fun. It's so funny because I wasn't running, I looked like, because all I was doing was lifting and swimming. I actually looked like really,
That's where I got these shoulders from, swimming. I was on the swim team.
Were tight, but it was just like I looked like I had been, coming from a competition or something. And one day this woman, she's like, how'd you get so big? I'm like, what? And she wouldn't stop talking. I'm like, just please stop saying that. Thank you. Just stop.
I'm not big.
Right. But it just, my muscles, because there were new muscles, like anyone who does exercise for the first time or does extra exercise for the first time is going to have what's called, hypertrophy, which means your muscles are going to, start to activate. So like a new exerciser can do 10, 15 minutes. They're like, oh, I'm getting big. It's like, no, you're getting muscles, but eventually this is going to reverse and it'll figure itself out. But right now you're more concerned with learning, getting the functionality, and getting muscle on you, because you need that. If you're ever going to burn fat, you have to have muscle.
Absolutely.
I
just want to get this in. You go to www.kamalinden.com, www.cindybartz.com. Cam, your book just came out this week, correct?
Yes.
And so your book is Healthy Things That You Can Do in Front of the TV. And if we go to your website, Cindy, we get a free copy of your book on how to cure yourself, reverse osteoporosis. And there's a video. I got video 1. I have still waiting for video 2. Yay. But can't wait to watch it. It's all very exciting. And Kama, with your book, I mean, you've got yourself in the book. You show us all the different exercises that we can do between commercials. And if you have, you know, a Fitbit, maybe, you know, you can say, okay, I need to get more stuff in. So, you know, zip back and forth or something. Do something. Yeah. We're almost actually out of time. Cindy, is there anything that you want to make sure that people know before we leave today's show that you didn't get out of yourself?
No, go and visit my website. I've got a lot of free goodies out there. I also have another book that's on boosting your immune system, and that one's free as well. And I've also got a 10-day jumpstart program that starts getting you back into the swing of things if you kind of fell off the wagon a while. Do
either of you take vitamins, extra vitamins?
I have a supplement routine. It's mostly for my bones, but a few other things as well. But if you can get it through food, I always recommend that. I do not take a multivitamin. It's just very specific nutrients that I feel are needed.
Right. Yeah. I'm always looking, you know, for brands that people think are good, and because they're not all the same. I really don't believe that they're all the same. And so, you know, like C and D, stress vitamins, D is apparently, you know, amazing for everybody. It's, you know, keeps you healthy. And here we don't get as much sunlight as you do in Florida. And so, you know, definitely it was a very sad winter for Frankie. It was very difficult, but my mood is slowly improving with the weather right now. So, and you know, you can get those lights too. And I think I got it for my son because he suffers with depression, and he said it's amazing, Mom. You know, the lamps, the light lamps that you wake up to, and helps with your mood and everything. So I encourage people to get that. It's part of, you know, if that could be part of your wellness routine, why not? Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And Kama, what about you? Your book is out today?
Well, it's Wednesday.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yesterday. Came out yesterday, right?
Yes, and if you use the Amazon, it'll ship wherever you are in the world. So this way I don't have to mail things, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And it's a really good book. You know, there's lots. I mean, it's very thorough. My gosh.
Yeah, and you know, so when I first started setting to writing, you know, I had the idea of the pictures and the real people. So some of the photos just...
The guys were funny.
My hair
your hair was shorter. Yeah.
Pictures, and then my hair is long. And some of the pictures, so you see that there's time that went by. A lot of time that went by. But the idea is that at first I was like, okay, it'll just be a coffee table book, and people may or may not do any of them, and I don't really care. But when Motivational Press came along, they're like, nah, you have to have meat and potatoes in the book, vegan, of course. You have to have meat and potatoes in the book. You have to pose a question, pose a solution. Is what he said. And also, I did have some guest writers, which he suggested. He's like, get experts, get people to contribute and make your book have more of a idea to it. And I was like their first book with all these pictures, and they were just like, you know, you're really stressing us out over here. I mean,
funny to have pictures.
So many pictures, but also because I'm such a technician when I teach, and it's not just about doing the exercise, but it's like understanding neutral spine. Like plank is one of the most misunderstood exercises. Like people will do plank and they get into cross position like this, and they stick their butt in the air and their head's hanging in their hands. And I'm like, dude, a plank is a straight board. It's not this. It's not like these weird shapes. It's this way. And then your spine has 3 curves, right? You gotta keep the curves. You're trying to align the front of your body. You're not trying to smash your spine, especially if you have osteoporosis. I'm not gonna smash your spine. I don't wanna smash your spine. I wanna keep you strong, and I wanna keep your, like if you think of the saran wrap effect, the minute you find those 3 curves, your muscles go, and they just like activate. There's no avoiding it. And when people find it for the first time, they freak out. I'm like, it hurts. So like, yeah, and so I'm like, bend your knees, take a breath, then when you go to do it again, just straighten your knees again. But use the mirror next to you so your head aligns with your spine and you have your natural curves. Your feet are below you. So if I stand up, that's the way I'm going to stand. Because eventually you don't want to be standing with shoulders round.
Right.
Or, you know.
And that's another thing. You know, they're saying now that this widow's hump that used to be around is going to be prevalent again because people are like this with their phones, with their iPads, with everything, right? So what can we do to eliminate that? Should we get those things that push our things back? Or?
When most people go across the street on the New Yorkers are ridiculous. They'll walk across the street with their chin on their chest and the phone down here. Why is it so hard not to pick up your phone?
Why can't you go like that?
It's not that heavy. Seriously. Like you can't read. Like when you read a book, you don't put your chin on your chest. You read the book, right? I'm reading my book. So people will put their chin on their chest. Not only that, but like in my age, I don't want the neck wrinkles, right? You're going to give yourself neck wrinkles. So pick your phone up, look at it, and don't hurt your neck by bending your head. But also, you know, it's very funny. It's like, I think a lot of my taller students especially they have more neck flexibility than I have. I'm also just shorter, I suppose. But instead of having the plank, somehow they make their head like do that, like a perfect vertical. Like, I don't know, but they'll make their head hang like that while the rest of their body is sort of in plank. I'm like, that's gotta hurt.
That looks weird.
Right there, dude. That's your walking. That's your breathing. All your cervical spine vertebra control your body functions. Don't mess with those babies.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Wow, it's scary.
Yeah.
Cindy, give a plug.
I would also just say, you know, roll those shoulders back because so many people are, you know, they're hunched here. So, you know, bring those back and down away from your ears.
I have to sit straight up. I'm a former equestrian child. And so, you know, I always try to, I'm not comfortable if I'm not sitting straight. And lots of people are like this, or their feet up and whatever, right? But I can't do that. It's not comfortable for me. I'm much more comfortable when I'm up straight. And it feels good. I mean, sometimes you forget and you hunch over, but it feels good to sit straight. Give a plug for your Ageless Beauty because it's going on sale.
Yeah, so just go to my website, again, cindybartz.com, CINDYBARTZ, and it's not up yet, but probably in about 5 days. My Ageless Beauty, we had a summit, it was live, and had quite a few, over 1,000 people signed up for it, and had over 20 speakers, all talking about health and wellness and what to do to stay ageless and be a beauty. And so we're actually going to be selling that now as an all access pass, and it's only $30. It's just a one-time fee.
Brilliant. Yeah. Great speakers.
It was 7 days, and there were a lot of folks that said, you know, these are really good talks, and they didn't get enough time to look through them all and listen to them all. There's a lot of giveaways, and I've got some special little surprises as well that's going to come out.
I'm going to get it because I didn't get to see everybody, so I'm very interested in hearing what everybody had to say.
Yeah, and the other thing too is the $30, $10 of that is actually going to be donated for every purchase. $10 is going to go to the Miss Foundation, which, if you're not familiar with that foundation, has been around since 1973, and it's all about supporting, educating, and empowering women.
Yeah, and it was first started with Gloria Steinem and Marlo Thomas and two other women. I can't remember their names, but I remember because I had my now patch on my jeans, and I went, yeah. that was my era. But I love it. Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. And a perfect foundation in today's world, for sure. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of gender parity, and we still need to make sure that women are educated, get the same, you know.
Yeah, and that's what Ageless Beauty, that's what it's all about, is building a community of women in their second prime, I call it. So, you know, it's not over at 40 or 50 or 60 or even beyond that. We all have gifts and talents, and there's no reason why we can't continue to contribute. And sometimes as we get older in that second prime is the time that we can really start to shine.
Well, you see all these new models, you know, gray-haired models, late 60s, 70s, who are the it girls now. So, well, thanks, everybody. We're going to say goodbye to Facebook. We're going to go back over to Frankie's machine. Bye, Facebook. Bye. And I'm just going to